All right, today's date is Saturday, March 8th, 2025. My name is Eric Thompson, and I'm interviewing Reverend Murray as part of research with the University of Central Florida's Richest Project in cooperation with the City of Orlando's Parramore Speaks Project. I'm also joined by Kylie Encarnacion and Catherine McCann, who are sitting in the room with us. This interview is being conducted at the Callahan Neighborhood Center in Orlando, Florida, and Reverend Murray has agreed to allow this interview to be recorded. Could you start off by telling us your full name?
My full name is Rollie, R-O-L-L-I-E, Murray, M-U-R-R-A-Y, Jr.
And Reverend Murray, can you tell us about your childhood and where you grew up?
Yes, I can do that. I remember it well. I grew up in Florida. I'm a native Floridian, in a little town that's named Chattahoochee, Florida. It's about 44 miles west of Tallahassee, right down I-10 or Highway 90, and it is located kind of just on the other side of Quincy, Florida. And in terms of my childhood, I had a wonderful childhood. I grew up in a house where I had both my mother and my father. I had two siblings, a sister who was older and a brother who was younger. And my childhood, I have no disgruntledness about it. I'm not angry about it. I have no psychological negatives about my childhood. I was fearfully and wonderfully made and fearfully and wonderfully raised, disciplined and directed.
And when did you first arrive in Orlando?
I arrived in Orlando in November 1984, if you would. Okay, yes, November 1984. I arrived permanently in Orlando.
And what brought you here to Orlando?
Here in the Parramore area is the area in which I arrived. I don't know if you plan to ask me this later, but I will certainly review it now. I'm the senior pastor of Bethel Missionary Baptist Church that's located just down the street from here at the corner of Anderson and Parramore. The physical address is 654 West Anderson Street, Orlando, Florida 32805.
And you came here specifically for that calling?
I came here for that call, to answer and respond to that calling. I refer to that as being not only just a calling to come here, but that was a life assignment I've discovered.
And not everyone's familiar with the sort of career pathway to wind up in your shoes. Can you tell us a little about what the journey is like to that position?
What the journey is like to the position of pastor, that's a journey that actually began with me. And I cannot necessarily say that that is true with every individual who serves in this position, career, assignment, calling. But I will say for me, the journey began as a child. Okay? I accepted the Lord Jesus Christ as my personal Savior when I was 8 years old. And I began preaching when I was a very young child at the age of 11. I was called to as pastor of the first congregation and received that calling and accepted that assignment at the age of 17, just prior to graduating from high school. It has been a journey of promise, faith, fulfillment, and God's guidance for me.
And you mentioned a generally positive attitudes toward your childhood and a
Yes.
strong upbringing. Tell us about your family, what your parents did for a living. Were they also in the church?
My parents were, yes, very strong believers in the church. We were members of the New Zion Missionary Baptist Church of Chattahoochee, Florida. But we also attended Bethel Missionary Baptist Church, Chattahoochee, Florida. And we also attended Friendship AME Church in Chattahoochee, Florida. You know, if there was a Sunday, we were in church. Specifically, my parents, my father was at that time during my childhood was a serving deacon in the New Zion Missionary Baptist Church. My mother served as a deaconess in the New Zion Missionary Baptist Church. So my family was very deeply rooted in Christianity, in Christ, and in the church.
And as we were walking over here and introducing ourselves, we are all at various levels student researchers, and you
Yes.
talked on remembering back to our various stages in school. So can you tell us about your educational background?
Yes. Do you want me to begin at elementary?
Sure.
Okay. Well, my educational matriculation began in kindergarten. And from kindergarten through 8th grade, I graduated during those years. In the area where I grew up, you would graduate from elementary school and then move into high school. So I graduated from 8th grade and then into 9th grade. In 9th grade, I attended Parramore High School in Quincy, Florida for my freshman, sophomore, and junior years. And then my senior year, I transferred to Chattahoochee High School, where I graduated in 1969. Following that, I attended Chipola. At that time, it was known as Chipola Junior College. Of course, it's now state school, but Chipola Junior College, that is located in Marianna, Florida, where I graduated with an AA degree from there. And then I attended Florida A&M University, where I graduated with a bachelor's, a BA, and master's level education. And also, during the master's level, I had classes also at Florida State University. And by the way, my major was religion with a triple minor, philosophy, psychology, and secondary education with a concentration in language arts. Okay? And it was a unique experience for me. That's my basic educational journey. I've also taken numerous classes and attended other schools of religions, such as at various times. Okay.
And you mentioned always being really involved in the church, and obviously that takes up time outside of school. But aside from church and school, what were you doing as a child in your spare time?
In my spare time, I was kind of sports oriented. So I did not, well, let me begin. I basically concentrated on track and field. I began running as a very young child. And I ran track during my elementary and high school years. And also in my junior college years, I did some running.
We're going to shift gears a little bit and talk about Parramore, this neighborhood.
All right.
You came here in 1986.
1984.
84, I'm sorry. What sort of businesses existed in the community when you got here?
There were basically the same businesses that exist now. There were mom and pop stores that were located. There was a restaurant and a cafe that was owned by African Americans in the community, barbershops in the community, and let's see, there was beauty shops in the community. Primarily, that's a general overview of what was in the Parramore community during that time.
And so that's...
Might I add, I don't know whether you were going to ask about churches, but the churches that basically are in the community now are the same ones that were here at that time.
Thank you. So that's sort of the business side of things. I want to flip that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of work do the people of Parramore do?
That's kind of varied. Specifically in Parramore, we have a number of people, and I think I can safely answer this question by saying that they are what I refer to as being common labor work. Okay? Some of them may have been employed as in janitorial services, they may have been employed as in housekeeping, but we have a number of persons. We had some persons who may have been professionals, such as teachers and in school system, but primarily that was it. That was it. However, we did have in the Parramore area dentist offices. There were 1, 2 of those that I know, and there were some other persons who were carpenters and worked in construction. Let me just generalize it by saying construction workers. Okay.
And what role do some of these businesses have in the community?
These businesses, I think, play a very vital role in the community. It helps to build the community by servicing the people that reside in that community, and that's a part of that community. The one thing that, and you may have this in your battery of questions, but I will surface it at this point. As you may have noticed, if you have taken just a ride through or noticed in the Parramore, in this general Parramore area, it's what we refer to as being a food desert. There is not one grocery store where the residents of the Parramore area can literally walk to a store in the likeness of Walmart and other grocery chains or Publix or a store of that nature. There's not a CVS, there is not a store of that nature generally in the Parramore area, because many of the residents in Parramore may walk to those locations. Now we do have some what I refer to as being family or kind of private owned stores that are in the small sector.
Right, I think the nearest major grocery store is the Publix over by Lake Eola.
Over by Lake
That's
Eola.
on the other side of the road.
That's on the other side of the road.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And the nearest Walmart is located up on Orange Avenue, which is, again, that's totally in another area from the Parramore area.
Since we just touched on parts of areas, I told you we were going to do an activity.
Sure.
It's not that difficult. It's a map. This is north, and I've removed the neighborhood names.
North?
Yep, this is Colonial running right here.
Colonial.
I've removed the neighborhood names.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to draw with one of these pens what you'd think of as Parramore. So sort of the boundaries of what you would consider to be Parramore. And I can help you with a couple of streets if you need some more orientation.
This is Colonial. That's North Orange. Okay, West Central. This is Washington. Long, Cypress, Gore, Grand Columbia. Long Street, Rio Grande. include, because that's another area, Anderson South, Westmoreland, that's certainly Westmoreland. This is Parramore. This is Division. That's Cayley. So we don't go over that far. Rio Grande, Pine Conley, Gore, Columbia, let me do Miller Street, because there's America Street, but it's this side of I-4. South Jackson, South Central, certainly that includes Parramore. There's Monotone, Orange Blossom Trail, so we have Orange Blossom Trail, Washington Robinson. We go to Orange Blossom Trail, and Rio Grande. So we gotta come up to the trail because when we cross over, that's Long Dune, South Orange. So we gotta come up to Robinson, Livingston, Bentley, Amelia. This would then go all the way to this is Colonial, Westmoreland. They may have another name for that. I think we consider, because that's the Rock Lake area. This is Monotone, so they don't call that Parramore. Let's go up Piedmont, Citrus, Columbia. No, we don't cross Gore, because that's considered as, once we cross Gore Street, that's where we think once we cross Gore, that's trying to think of the number of this area here. I think I'm correct. Washington, Robinson, Livingston. Yeah, because we don't go. I would think that would be it.
All right, well, thank you. The reason I ask is every person we talk to gives a little bit of a different answer. So
I
I
would
just
expect so.
want to file it away so that we can, somebody can research that someday.
Absolutely.
All right.
And my hesitance is probably the same as others who hesitated, because there are certain areas that bear their own name, like Lake Eola area and areas such that all kind of streets come through to this area, but they are considered in to be another. This is the Grand, they call this, I believe, such as the Grand Street area, and of that nature. As I said, Rock Lake, and so therefore then we don't go beyond I-4. We don't go. beyond I-4, and it pretty much, and once we cross Orange Blossom Trail, then it's another, it bears another name, Columbia, because all of Columbia and Grand is on that side, and that goes toward Calia. All right?
All right.
I think I've given
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you for indulging me on that.
Yes.
So we've both used the word a lot. Community. What does that word mean to you?
Community? For me, community means connectivity. Community means not only connectivity, but it means unity. Connectivity, unity, community. Community means caring. Community is faithfulness. Community means, to me, having a certain quality of life that helps to give credence to the persons who reside in that community. It means residents who have a belief in the area in which they reside.
You mentioned the food deserts as a challenge that the Parramore community faces. What other challenges does the area face?
I think it also faces, and some improvement has been done over the last 40 years. I've been in the Parramore community at the heart. That's what we call the heart of the Parramore community, there where we are located. We've seen some improvement in the conditions of housing, which has come over the last 10 to 15 years. We've seen some improving in the housing. There has been a move to provide a quality of housing where there are, for example, persons living in a specific complex, and there are persons who are living there who are lower income, which I think the average and I would say the average resident of the immediate Parramore area is on the side of low income. However, as I stated, there have been some strides made in bringing that kind of housing, and we use the term affordable, but I raise the question sometimes, affordable for whom? Because if you are a person who is living at or just above the poverty level, what kind of housing can you afford?
You mentioned, and you were correct to surmise that we were going to circle back to it, the role of churches in the community and other support organizations.
The church brings a level of quality to the community that the members of the community can appreciate. The church provides for them a place of acceptance, a place, a symbol of worth. It provides them with a place, with a haven where they can go and receive not just spiritual guidance or assistance, but even other types of needs that are met through the churches, through programs that are provided by the churches.
Can you tell me about your church?
Our church, who has been a part of the Parramore community since its inception, since its organization, our church now this year celebrates 114 years. We say centennial plus 14. and we're celebrating that this year. Our church specifically provides the community. We do, for example, we do a monthly feeding. However, we are undergoing now and a period of revisitation and looking to assessing what exactly and how we're going to approach going forward, because we don't have certain clientele of people or people who at one point in time resided just down the, not resided per se, but congregated just down the street under the overpass, what they eventually named as that produced the name of Checker Park, because there were persons who would gather daily, weekly and daily under the overpass and share down there for many times throughout the entire day, until the city brought about an ordinance that said that they had to close that area, because there were people who were homeless that would sleep under the overpass. Well, our church over the years has provided on a monthly basis, the Saturday before the third Sunday in each month, a feeding of hot meals, one to the persons who came in the Parramore community. They were not restricted to any specific street where they must live, but just a part of the Parramore community. And they would come. We provided that every Saturday before the third Sunday in each month. And then during the Thanksgiving season, on Thanksgiving morning, and we've been doing this now for the past 24 years, we provide a hot meal, Thanksgiving meal for all persons who come to and we phrased it as being, we're feeding the homeless and the hungry and the not so hungry, because we fed whosoever will, let them come. And we fed on the high end as many of 500 people on that day, and then on lower around 250 to 300. And we've done that, as said, over the years. That's what our church has provided over the years. And then we've done some things such as informative kind of meetings for the community, to provide the community with knowledge that would help them in assisting them in finding if persons had needs for furniture or other household items that were imperative for living. We provided a service through it, and we also partnered with the mustard seed in doing that, and we've done that over the years.
Are there any particularly notable figures from the church's history, either in leadership or in the congregation, that you want to highlight as having made a particular impact in the community?
Oh my. Without missing anyone, I'll just speak very general. Yes, there have been persons, and it's been the majority of the church. And I don't want to begin calling names, because I just might miss someone. And you have no concept of what may be said to you when you have missed someone's name. You didn't call my name. So I won't approach it from that perspective. Let me approach it from the perspective of collectively, the community of the Bethel Church has been very, very monumental, and been a church that has displayed a spirit of caring for the community, people in the community. Bethel is known as the church that, as I stated, we've been in this community, in this specific part of the Parramore area for 114 years. That was the original location. It was one plot of ground, but now we basically own that entire block. So I would say collectively, the membership of Bethel, we've had a number of people who have been members there, who have gone on, who have certainly transitioned to be with the Lord, but who lived into their 90s and have been, they were members of the church for let's begin with 30, 40, 50 years of consecutive membership. There were persons who actually were born in the Parramore area who attended Bethel when they were children, and they remained members there when they were in their 80s and so forth. So it's been that kind of experience, and those persons loaned themselves to the work of the church collectively for the Parramore community. And they've taken a great deal of pride in the Parramore community.
You mentioned deaconesses and beauty shops. What role do women play in the Parramore community?
Oh my. There have been certainly some leading women. There was a restaurant that was located for a number of years right across the street from our church that was known as Jenny B's Restaurant, and that was well known in the Parramore community. And there have been some persons who own beauty shops, some women who own beauty shops in the Parramore community. Now, I may not be familiar with all of those persons by names. I know right across the street from our church, there was a beauty shop that's actually still open, and it was there, so I know it was open there. It's been there for 40 years because it was open when I came to the Orlando Parramore and to serve Bethel. And then there was another that opened in later years that's also right across the street and right next door to the other beauty shop that was there. That was, again, both of those were owned by women. There have been a commissioner who lived, city commissioner who lived in the Parramore area. Her name was Mercedes, and her last name evades me right now. But that was a commissioner who lived in the Parramore area. The Parramore Commissioner Regina Hill grew up in the Parramore area. As a matter of fact, at one point in time during her childhood, she was a part of our church, and there were, I'm sure there were some teachers whose names I don't really know, but who resided in the Parramore area, who were teachers in the school system here in the Orange County school system. So women have played, I think, a very great part in the leading in the Parramore community.
We'll change focus a little bit,
right,
and think a little bit big picture, change over time type things. How, in your 40 plus years being here, has Parramore changed?
Parramore has changed some in complexion. Now, I want to add that I firmly believe, because I know per my own experience, that some of the negative connotation that was given about Parramore, or toward Parramore, was not really the actual complexion of the Parramore area. For example, at one point it was suggested that Parramore had a great deal of crime, and that there were persons who were afraid to quote unquote drive through the Parramore area or walk through the Parramore area. In my 40 years, I did not experience that at all. And in my early years here as pastor of Bethel, I would spend, especially on Friday nights, would be late nights at the church. There were persons who may not have attended even church in the Parramore area because they were afraid either their car would be vandalized or stolen. That has not been the real facts about the Parramore area in general. The crime, I don't think, has been a fact. Every community has its number in terms of the crime that occurs. Some of it about which we may hear from other communities we may not. But I feel that Parramore has not been justly judged based on the actuality of the environment and the complexion of Parramore. Now, secondly, I will address that question from this perspective. We've seen, as I stated, the city of Orlando has adopted, if you will, the Parramore community. They have worked to certainly make changes in its physical appearance. They have some buildings that were dilapidated, buildings that were unoccupied have been removed and changed, and I think the mindset of the people who yet reside in Parramore has changed over the years. In the early years of my residing here and being a part of the church, I actually resided in the Parramore area at 7 on Jernigan Street, okay, 734 Jernigan Street, and I resided there for 13 years prior to moving out into another area. And of course, I saw crime happen. There were drugs in the community, and that really there was some gang activity in the Parramore community. Much of that has now been addressed and does not really have a strong appearance in the Parramore community as it once did. Okay, and along with, as I said, there is the conditions. There was a business in the Parramore area where seemingly a large amount of crime actually occurred, but that place was finally relocated or removed from the Parramore community. It was those kinds of things. And then the younger, as there was some, as people, let me rephrase it, as the city of Orlando gave notice to it and brought many of us in and sat down and allowed us to express our concerns, and through the work of the commissioners, city and county commissioners that were responsible for the Parramore area, has brought about a difference and made a difference in the the housing conditions, the conditions of streets, improvements of lighting in the community, and those are just a few of the improvements. But I believe the greatest improvement may not be one that you can measure by any of those, but I believe the culture of Parramore has improved over the years. By culture, I mean the attitude of the persons who yet reside in the area. We have been able to aid a great deal. Parramore has though carried one strong characteristic, and that is, generally speaking, the persons who resided in the Parramore area really cares about each other. They really, really do. And they have a strong camaraderie. There's a strong sense of worth of the other person that lives. We are all on the same level. We are all God's creation. We are all people of God. And the people in Parramore certainly respect those of us who are pastors and as their leaders in this community.
So, as a community leader, I'll use the word. What can I, as an Orlandoan who doesn't live in Parramore, and other folks like me who live nearby but not in the area, what can we do to support Parramore?
What can you do? Number one, you can, as in your support for Parramore, want for or believe that the Parramore should be viewed from the same future perspective as every other community in the city of Orlando and in the county of Orange. When you report about Parramore, do not judge every person who resides in the Parramore area by one or two individuals. Thirdly, you can believe, if you will, that you would be counted just as important to the community of Parramore. Or well, you would be counted just as important in Parramore as you are in the community where you presently reside.
What is Parramore's legacy?
I really probably cannot give you as strong a view of the legacy of Parramore as some other individuals that you may have interviewed or you may interview. I've only been in Parramore for 40 years. But the legacy, I think there's a rich legacy. It's been ongoing. It has had, I feel, more positives in the last 40 years than it has had negatives. I believe that the coming of what has been the universities and the renovation of the locating of the new schools in the Parramore area. A part of the legacy of Parramore begins right here in this building where the original Jones High School began. It has a rich legacy. There are persons who were born and grew up in Parramore and now pastors in the area of Parramore. The Mount Zion Missionary Baptist Church is the oldest African American Baptist church in Orlando. It has again, I think the legacy touches the fact that out of Parramore has come persons such as those who have in the early years served on the police force, and maybe the first I believe African American police officer was a product of the Parramore community. Some persons who were first who were able to who worked across across the line, across division, when blacks were not allowed to be over into that part of the city of Orlando. Parramore stood strong. There were persons who saw the need to have a place where persons who entertained us and other persons who came to the Orlando area had a place to stay. So there was a hotel actually located in the Parramore area when blacks could not stay in other hotels, they had a place to stay in that hotel. And that's just, I think, a very small expression about the legacy of Parramore. I believe it stretches much further than that. There are maybe persons who went on to become judges and attorneys and doctors. As I said, some well-known doctors had offices here in Parramore. It has a rich legacy. My first dentist that to whom I entrusted my oral care was located right here in Parramore. As a matter of fact, just down that street at the corner of South and Parramore. So it has a rich legacy.
So we're getting.
Hopefully I've satisfactorily responded to that question.
Yes, thank you. We're getting close to the amount of time I told you I was going to take, but I want to give you a chance to talk about anything else that you think I need to know that I haven't asked about.
I think that we've also brought into Parramore, and you did not ask so much about this, but they brought some programs into the Parramore area that address the youth, the children that grow up in this area. Several of those programs have been held right here in this building, and the other programs that has been led by private owners in one sense that address the needs of children. Children, give them an alternative to just hanging out on the street. And I also discovered, and I think this is important, that there's been a strong value system among families in the Parramore area. They've had their struggles, but there have been many young people who has grown up in the Parramore area, who graduated from high school, went on and gotten upper level degrees, and are doing well in life at this very day. There are several that I could name, and without missing one, I won't do that. But there are several that came out of our church, personally, that grew up in the Parramore and has gone on to do wonderfully well. I think that's important because our greatest asset is our posterity, and how well we address the needs of our children youth and young people in the Parramore area has spoken volumes about the quality of people that actually reside in the Parramore area.
All right, well, thank you very much. We really appreciate it. I'm going to stop the recording now. All right?
All right.